My parents lived in Kent, and they moved to Devonshire, and I was 16, 17 years old, and I was going to be a professional cricketer, but there's no team down there, so I ran away to sea. And eventually I met a young lady who was at school, and in those days there was no sleeping around, no living together, it was to get married, so I got married. Silly me, because this woman would, and I'm starting to travel now, since 1957 I've been traveling, and she wouldn't cross the road. So unfortunately, that fizzled out, although I still see her. And then I married an American. Big mistake. You only live with Americans. You never marry them, because immediately they own 3/4 or more of what is yours, including your house. My house was worth $1.5 million. I was supposed to get half of it when she sold it, and to get the half, she sent me a stamp for 50 cents. Yeah, charming. So, and when you marry American, it gets where everything goes on the fridge about what time you do this and what time you do that and what time you have children, everything else, You're laughing, but it's true.
This is why American men are coming for Ukraine. Girls never ask me again.
So afterward, I went to Ukraine with a television crew and business people in 1991, just after independence. I was invited the people down there, and I was enthralled with Ukraine. I still am, because it reminds me of where I grew up. I grew up in the garden of England, where my grandmother, Babushka, had a garden, and my grandfather, and if he didn't grow it, we didn't get it. And like Babushka in Ukraine, she has a little garden. She's only this big. She waters this by 2 gardens by hand, and it just shows the strength of Ukrainian women. What I'm trying to impress on these gentlemen is she feeds 3 families with fruit and vegetables all summer. Come the winter, the pomidors in the jar, the jam, and my daughter and my wife loaded up one of my cases. I wondered why it was so heavy. There was 32 kilos of bloody jam in my case. Lucky for me, I get away with that. So during the time I was there, I went to a company that made iron ore, and basically very friendly. So one of my team wanted to do business with that company, and I then had perhaps a year later to make a call, and a Skype call. So my wife was filling in for the CO's PA on lunchtime, so I talked to my wife. She's called Alushka, I call her, she's good. And I got to speak to her on Skype. And I have to say, immediately, like what I saw. Because without doubt, Ukrainian women are the most beautiful on earth. And that's not just me. When my wife goes shopping, I stay in the car and watch the beautiful girls. And my wife knows I'm doing that. Well, God put beauty on earth to behold. And it's in plentiful supply in Ukraine. The women are not just beautiful, they're highly intelligent and strong. Strong is what you've got to be aware of, guys, because my wife is very strong. She told me for the last 20 years, just say yes to everything I say and life will be fine. But that's not quite my style. I'm not a Ukrainian man. But you know what? The households in Ukraine are developed and live because of Ukrainian women. My mother-in-law, in the morning she teaches builders how to build. You can put 2 chairs together, she'll do a ceiling without a mark, and in the afternoon she teaches algebra. Only in Ukraine do you get this sort of thing. My daughter still respects it. It's like old English education. Plenty of homework, plenty of respect for the teachers, love for the teachers, I would say. And at the end of the term, they graduate from high school, not university, because of the local area. And I remember going to this ceremony on the side of the river Dnieper, and some of the guys had the bright idea of bringing booze into the party, and I was against that because I knew what goes on after that. And so, yeah. But my daughter now lives in Nice, or Menton, and she works in Monte Carlo. And she works for a fashion house called Moe Moe. She sold $2.5 million worth of clothes last year. She speaks 5 languages with a business thing, but only because homework was shared with my wife and my mother-in-law,
Discipline.
who's younger than me, by the way, so I can understand. I mean, I'm 85, my wife is just before 50. And people say, what do you do after sex? I said, sex is what they put coal in. Yeah, and we have a beautiful relationship. As you probably gather, I talk a lot, but that's what I do for a job. So I have to be quite good at it, yeah, but it's from the heart. I don't put on any airs and graces, you know. So I love Ukrainian culture. I love the habit of standing up for the first toast, the third toast, and several afterwards. As you see, I'm on the horseradish welcome. And I love the toasting the ladies, because the culture is beautiful. It's so friendly. I mean, I was the only English guy living where I lived in Richmond, and I got friendly with the internet company. I helped to start the internet company there, but they built a robot. The women were involved in that, and it went around all the buildings. And so my little town is a private network, and that's still going. And so my wife, as I said, is in Ukraine right now. I tried to get her on the phone, but she got up at 3:30 this morning to travel on the Matchmaker, because that's the only way to get to Kiev, yeah? For those who don't know what a scooter is, it's a little minivan with lots of seats in it. And the driver smokes and answers the telephone all the way on the drive-in. And you wonder how you make it where you go sometimes, but it's friendly. And I usually I give them all sorts of things from Euro 212, so they used to pick me up at my house and at the airport with my bag. And you developed a relationship with the people in the town. I had relations that lived in Benita in a little village. My auntie over there who makes samagon. Samagon is homemade vodka. And it's very good. And she makes
Sort
it
of
in big
tequila.
glass things, but she trades the samagon with butter and eggs in the village. And parties in Ukraine.
As we say, it must be clean as a tear.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So I am very, very happily married. Bullied, yes.
It's not a good advertisement, actually.
She would
That's a love language. Bullying is a love language.
She wouldn't say it. I know this. Listen, let's have. I do inspirational talks, and one of the things I like to do is make people smile and laugh. And some say maybe be a little outrageous when I say bullying, but it is. But it's bullying that I grow up with her, and I enjoy it. It's great, you know, really fantastic, and I love what I've got in my Ukraine marriage. I recommend it because you'll never have a better wife. I don't care where she comes from. Best you can get, period. And she will want children, and you'll be a good mother and a good housekeeper, but she'll be a good worker. My wife is working now in Ukraine. She's the logistics expert for petrochemicals for a Japanese company in London, but she's working out of Tokyo, sitting in a little village in Ukraine right now. So, yeah, and this good lady is helping. She's gone to Kiev today to see what my dear friend here has given her to lead to find a care home for my mother-in-law. And this is where relationships in Ukraine are very special. I think family is so much more special now in Ukraine than it ever was. I can remember in England, like when my daughter goes home, she's 27. She's not my blood daughter, but she might as well have been because her father didn't want a girl. I should have told him it was his fault, but he wouldn't accept that. Good. So I've got a beautiful daughter. But the first thing she does when she goes home is to go see the teachers after a month. And that's what makes this country great. This is why Putin's never going to win, because it's not like this in Russia. Or Russia, as I know everybody, because I spell it Ruzzia when I write, and it pisses everybody off. But that's it, and they stole our name. People don't understand that Ukraine was a thriving city 1,500 years ago. Ukraine is 700 years older than Moscovia, where the Russians were living in the swamp around Moscow, the real name which is Moscovia. They stole the name, they stole the flag with the eagle on it from Poland, and now they're trying to steal our bloody country. But I tell you what, they won't win that, because they're dying by the thousands, because we're fighting for our democracy and our country. And I don't know if you're aware of what's going on you know about Holodomor? Well, in the 1930s, Russia decided that the farms and we could all come in, and they moved Russians down to Donetsk and places like that to run it, which meant the farmers of Ukraine were shut off. But they did more than that. They starved to death 5 million people. You could get shot for an ear of corn, and most people don't realize that. And if you take in one of the other countries, 7 million people, that's more than a Holocaust. And people don't know that. And so, you know, I'm very respectful of Ukraine. They've been aggressed by Russia for 300 years, and they're never going to win. So I would like to just say, Slava Ukraina. Yeah.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you.